because this is a cooperative campaign-driven game where players are going to be playing through the Italian poem with the same name as they journey through the 9 layers of hell. Players are going to be choosing their characters at the start of the game and then playing through a number of chapters, with each chapter coinciding with one of the layers of hell. The game features branching storylines which can change with the player's decisions, as well as their successes and failures throughout the game. Of course, with the theme that involves players moving through hell, you can expect that a lot of the artwork and the environments that you're going to be encountering are going to be quite grim, and a little bit of that horror and mythology thrown into a board game can be a lot of fun, and this game does look quite ambitious with the story that it aims to tell. And if it's able to deliver on that, as well as providing some compelling gameplay, this is definitely one that a lot of people are going to have their eye on. So it's no surprise that this one is our Discord pick of the week. And something that I really like that I'm seeing about this game is that since there's just 9 layers to hell, it looks like there's just going to be 9 chapters in the base game. I'm sure there'll be a few expansions and additional chapters added throughout the campaign, but it's nice to see a campaign game that isn't asking for a whole year or a few years of your time in order to play. This is one that I think a lot more of us will be able to actually complete. And if you are looking for that additional content, I'm sure they will provide that as well. And something else that I do like about this game is that it does follow that traditional flow of gameplay that you see in a lot of those campaign boss battlers style games like this one, where you're going to be going into a bit of a exploration or town phase, trying to prepare yourself for the boss battle at the end of the chapter. But what makes this one interesting is that instead of that phase being in a town or at a camp or anything like that, you're actually going to be in one of the layers of hell, exploring that layer of hell and facing different challenges and making choices, and those successes and failures are going to dictate how well you do and prepare yourself for the final boss battle. Single double-sided board is used to support both the exploration phase as well as that final boss battle, but of course this more simplified side is used for the exploration phase because each of the layers of hell will have their own deck of cards. You're going to be laying them out on that grid, and then players will be able to explore those cards in order to flip them up and discover the different points of interest and opportunities and choices that they might provide. Players will be doing all this to gather different resources, items, and intel to help them in their future battles. But of course, once the end of that phase is triggered, players are going to be moving on to the other side of the board and setting it up according to that specific battle. Players will all draw a hand of cards, and then they'll be using those cards to perform their actions, as well as taking any free actions they want within their turn. But essentially, players will be attacking by rolling dice, healing, or performing other effects to help them or hinder the enemy. Players will also be able to interact with the terrain in various ways. And what's interesting about this game is that there are multiple levels and structures that players can climb onto and interact with that they might be able to take advantage of throughout the battle. As you might expect, players will be recycling their discard pile back into a draw deck in order to get their cards back again, which can be very useful to perform those more powerful attacks or those specific actions over again. But each player will also have their own champion board as well, which he'll be using to track a few different stats and effects. But you can also play cards from your hand onto these boards in order to perform a more powerful version of that card. This makes that action way more powerful, but of course you only have a limited number of spaces on your board in order to do that, and it also does take it out of your deck, so you may not be able to use it again in that battle. But after all the players have performed their turn, you're going to be drawing a card from the enemy and resolving its effects. And the battle continues like this, alternating between the player's turn and the enemy's turn until the players are able to complete their objective for that battle. And if they're able to do so, they'll get the benefits of that battle and move into the next chapter. Of course, the game provides a ton of really neat miniatures for all the characters and all the bosses and enemies that you might go up against. If you are interested to see what those might look like, you can check them out on the campaign page, which I will have linked in the description below. And of course, you can click that notify button to get notified once the campaign launches.